Could Mamdani's big socialist win in New York lead to other Mamdani-like candidates here in California? Plus, Gavin Newsom decries the fact that the government is reopening. I thought he was upset that it was shut in the first place. Well, it's going to backfire on him pretty big in the general election if he makes it there. All that and more, a roundup of California politics for today, coming right up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator, and we're tracking the fallout from the Democrats pretty much losing this fight on the government's shutdown. Now, I'm not saying that Republicans won it. Republicans did not message very effectively during this shutdown. Democrats, though, were flailing about, trying to blame Trump, blame Republicans, when the math was very clear. They did not want to vote for a clean CR, continuing resolution, which means let's just fund it at the levels of last year and just continue to negotiate. They shut down the government. Mathematically, that is a proven fact. But the media didn't hold them accountable. But they were still taking on water. And a lot of the Democrats that were in, purple seats decided, let's try to cut a deal. And that's exactly what 8 of them did this weekend, giving 60 votes to clear a procedural hurdle, the filibuster in the U.S. Senate, to reopen the government. And there will be negotiations between now and the end of the year and into January when the CR runs out. But what was taken off the table quite cleverly, food stamps. As part of this package, the food stamp budget will be fully funded through the entirety of next year. There's no extension. It's actually funded in full. So they can't hold food stamps hostage, people who are hungry, which was the only chit that Democrats had. What's not in the package? That's right, illegal immigrant health care subsidies. And of course, some of the other lavish Obamacare premium subsidies. And Democrats are ticked off. Even Gavin Newsom, who was decrying the government shutdown for all of the impact it was having on workers and the FAA and flight delays and food stamps and all this nonsense. The government reopens and he cries foul. Newsom says, pathetic, this isn't a deal, it's surrender. Don't bend the knee. My response, there you have it. Gavin Newsom never wanted the government to reopen. He doesn't care who this hurts. Now, Newsom is trying to be very strategic here with this. Remember, he's trying to run to the far left. He's trying to play to the rabid Democrat base that wants to fight Trump at every turn and shut down the government, no matter who it hurts, because we're trying to help save poor people. So let's use them as bargaining chips and fatalities in this war. Basically, that's what's going on. The incoherency on the left is stunning. Sadly, Republicans aren't filling it with their own message. But Newsom is being quite clever here because he's playing to the rabid far left activist base. And they're okay shutting down the government. They don't care who gets hurt in the process. They're just hungry for power. They've got an ideology that they're trying to serve. Remember, Marxists, Leninists, they're all about using the working poor, hurting the working poor in order to get power, because then they say that then we can do everything wonderful. If there are some casualties along the way, so be it, even if it's part of our own group of people that we claim to be speaking for. And Newsom very much is exhibiting that here. Not a whole lot of Republicans calling him out. I will. But this is going to hurt him in the general election. This tweet is part of that pattern of might makes right. The ends justify the means. Doesn't matter who gets hurt in the process as long as he's in power and his side wins politically. It never is about what they say they're fighting for. And I think when you make that case that this guy is inauthentic, that he's a liar, he's a cheat, and he's a failed governor, that in the general election, he will have severe problems. One other thing I want to get to is playing to the left and their rabid base. Mamdani is now starting to be the template for a lot of rabid Democrats across the country, including here in California. The LA Times has this story, and I had to kind of chuckle at the story itself. Here's the headline. Taking inspiration from Mamdani, Democrat socialists look to expand their power in LA. So the point being is that Mamdani becomes a template candidate for far left-wing activists to become their own Mamdani in their own areas. Well, there's a little bit of a flaw in this storyline, LA Times. The original Mamdanis, they were already here in California. You know, the ones talking about reparations and how Jewish people are bad and, the gays for Gaza, how we need to have universal basic income. All of this nonsense that Mamdani is espousing in New York that even Democrats consider a bit too extreme. A lot of that is mainstream here in California. So the idea that Mamdani is going to inspire, I think it might be the other way around. But what this does is it creates something like the equivalent of the Squad. Remember AOC and the other, 4 or 5 Yahoo terrorists. So crazy. And they became the foil, the symbol of what many candidates across the country would become if you elected a Democrat. Mamdani is going to be that in the 2026 cycle. And the problem here in California is people see Mamdani as so far away. What we need to do is educate the voters here in California that we've had our own Mamdanis for the last 10 years in California. So the story basically goes into this group, the Democrat Socialists of America, which are a major faction within the Democrat Party, which all the Democrat officials in California kowtow to, that they're recruiting candidates and that they already have several seats on the LA City Council and that they want to expand their influence. Look for this to becoming a major theme in the next cycle here in California. It says DSA hopes to win 2 seats in June. That's in the local LA City Council elections because they have their elections on the primary. And organizers have begun contemplating a full-on socialist city council, possibly by the end of 2028, with Democrat socialist members holding 8 of the council's 15 seats. Again, I would argue that they already have a majority in terms of opinion of regular Democrats because these regular Democrats are so terrified of being challenged on the left. Again, that's another reason why you see Newsom celebrating a government shutdown and decrying the government reopening, is that he's playing for those rabid, far-left, Mamdani-like candidates and supporters in the Democrat base. We've got a challenge on our hands here in California. We just got a major setback with Prop 50. Now that the Democrats can gerrymander their own districts, rig the elections, manipulate lines, choose the voters. We've got a plan, and we laid it out last week in the wake of the devastating loss with Prop 50, of breaking the supermajority in Sacramento. That's important because the Democrats can't put another Prop 50 on the ballot if they don't have 2/3 vote of the state assembly and the state senate. And that's why we are doing 26 for 2026. These are 26 target seats. If we win 7 out of the 26, we can break the supermajority and end the possibility that Prop 50 becomes permanent. We're going to need your help. We need help for the candidates that we're recruiting, training, and endorsing. We need you to volunteer to help those candidates in those target seats, and we need you to contribute. We also need to get voter ID on the ballot because that becomes the great rallying call in 2026 to motivate our base to show up, and it also is crucial to restoring public trust and confidence in California elections far into the future. We're in the middle of our signature drive on the California voter ID petition. If we get 1 million signatures, we're at 500,000 right now. That's a good start, but we have to finish the job. We can get that game-changing initiative on the ballot. So I encourage all of you, don't sit on the couch. Get off the couch and get into the fight in the street. Help us collect signatures. Help us with these candidates. Chip in a contribution. Go to reformcalifornia.org now. Reformcalifornia.org. At the bottom of the website, please sign up. Put in your first name, last name, email, and phone and zip code, and you'll be tethered into our growing movement statewide to save California from insanity and hopefully stop more Mamdanis from cropping up around our state. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Legislator. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state.